everyone, welcome to the next episode of Van Gogh Impressionism palette, which dated to 1885 roughly. This is when he swapped from his previous 9 limited colors to beautiful 14. I say 14, we'll have actually 13 because we're only using 1 white. He had 2 whites in his palette. Okay, so I'm going to start by mixing the blacks because I don't know, but I really want to see how they would mix. He dropped the ivory black, which we swatched in the previous palette, and decided that having Van Dyke brown, in my case sepia brown, would create interesting blacks rather than just use black straight out of the tube or whichever way he used them. So yeah, let's do that. So I've got here sepia, and I'm just going to mix up a few mixes. So I'm going to start with Ultramarine Finest, which is this color right here. I'm just going to swatch it on this side here, and hopefully you can see my little mixes here. So just adding a little bit of, oh, that's actually a really beautiful color. A little bit of sepia brown neutralizes it to look very much like Prussian blue. And remember, we are interested in going towards almost like a black color. So that's our target here. So far they're neutralizing really beautifully, sort of starting to turn into a gray now. So I think I'm going to add a good amount of Ultramarine Finest again and mix it. This is still very similar, so I'm going to go back into the sepia brown. Like that. It's an interesting color, isn't it? It's very close to black, but definitely not a black. It has more of a... there we go. Now this is looking something like a black. That's it. It's like a grey tone black. Beautiful color, mind you. So doing this sort of exercises and looking into masters, paintings or color palettes really can help you understand the beauty of different pigments and color theory and how things would mix. I'm just going to lift a little bit of it so that we can actually see the color. And that is very pretty. That is a beautiful black. You wouldn't have thought that we'd get to this color a couple of colors ago, but we did. So for the next color, I'm going to go with the Prussian blue because I'm really interested to see how that would mix. We had, or he had, this Prussian blue in his original palette, so that makes it even more interesting. And therefore, let's use it that way. Okay, I'm going to clean up my mixing area right here. This is a good thing to do to relax, and especially if you have anything on your mind or feeling a little anxious, this sort of thing really helps to completely relax. It's like a color therapy, really. Okay, so maybe I'll just lift a little bit of this. It's too much water here. There we go. Okay, here is our sepia brown. I'm going to start in this corner here, and that's probably too much. Okay, so I am going to take a little bit of this. That's actually quite interesting. It sort of goes into a green, like what would be the better way to describe it, like a cobalt turquoise almost. And then I would add a bit more into this. That's a beautiful color here for a moody sky. And then tiny bit more. So now it's starting to neutralize a little bit more. And then I'm going to add a bit more of the Van Dyke brown. So not black yet, but kind of almost actually getting there now. A bit too soon, it feels like. I feel like these are more of the sepia-esque colors. So I'm going to add now more of the Prussian blue and more of the Van Dyke or the sepia brown, just to make it more intense. So this has gone blue now, but I want it to be quite intense and get a black. So there we go. This is now almost there. A bit more Van Dyke. There we go. So that's, I think, like a good black. It has neutralized quite well. Okay, so this is more of a true black. This is more of a kind of greenish black, but still quite interesting color. I think that's enough for the blacks. There's also the other one, the cobalt blue, which is this one here, but I think it's similar enough to the French ultramarine for us to try that as well. Let's try some other mixes. So what I'm interested is in trying this emerald green with, let's say, with the rose madder genuine. That should be an interesting mix to do. And I'm going to do that rose madder genuine with also viridian. So I'm just going to mix it out first. So I happen to have it in my, I think this was the candy palette that I put together a while ago. I'll try to link it up here for you to check it out. Okay, so here is this color. It's a very pretty pink as it is on its own, but also there you go. But also in mixes I think it will be quite pretty. So I'm just going to load it up here. It's again one of those colors that better is to use from a tube. Otherwise it does re-wet, but not, I feel like you really could be damaging the bristles of your brush doing that for too long. And where is my viridian here? Let's start with the viridian first. So the viridian, or actually the emerald green, so it's this one here. It's going to be very intense. It's a very not a favorite color of mine to use on its own, super staining, but it's great for mixes. It does neutralize things really beautifully. So let's see what happens now. I'm just going to place the palette over here and We don't need that much of it to begin with because, like I said, it's a very strong color. So just going to touch a tiny bit here to start off with. Let's see what happens. Actually, just going to do a bit of that. So we start here this side. And then just adding a bit of it as we go. So you can see there's some really interesting neutralizing going to the point where we're going to get a lovely grey. There we go. And then we'll do the same, but with the Viridian. So I'll use my Viridian from the Autumn palette. As you can see, it's the most loved color in this palette. So I'll just start by loading some of it here. Like that. So you can see it's a lot less intense. It also has lovely granulation to it. So what I will do is basically the same thing. Just going to clean off the palette a little, load some of this Viridian into here. We're also getting some interesting granulation here already. So, as you see, that's as intense as it will get, and so okay, that should be enough. So just going to invite a little bit of this Viridian into here. So it neutralizes it, very similar to what we already experienced. Yeah. So it's basically pretty much the same thing. I will probably go in to load a bit more of this Viridian. And just tiny bit more. There we go, that also looks like a cobalt turquoise, like a more natural one. And that is quite nice. So if you ever needed to achieve this color, what you need is more of this and a tiny bit of this color. If you wanted something closer to the other side, then you know that you need more of that color, less of the opposite color. So that's how you sort of do these mixes. Let's think what could be another interesting way of doing things. I was thinking I would be able to create a bit more difference here. So they're fairly similar again to have on your palette as they are. So you'd probably want one or the other. In my case, I would definitely go for the Viridian. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's try the carmine, the permanent carmine with cobalt blue. So I'll pull out my palette and find my Schmincke permanent carmine. So this is quite a strong color. So again, I'm going to swatch it round about here.